NBC News broke the story today. I don't know if you saw it, that the Democrats are already saying, if you bring President Bill Clinton and he has to testify, we're bringing President Trump. What do you say to that?
I think they might say that, but they've already brought me. See, I've been brought. They had me indicted many times. Many times.
And the president had some surprising thoughts about former President Bill Clinton.
It bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton. I still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me. He was the one that said very famously that you don't want to run against Trump when there were 18 people. There was 18 people, including me, total. And he kept telling them, you don't want to run against Trump. Run against anyone. Don't run against Trump. And Hillary sort of laughed at him.
From lock her up to I really like Bill Clinton, a lot has changed over the last 10 years. As you can imagine, that clip is going viral and it's causing a lot of consternation online, even among conservatives. Juanita Broaddrick, one of the many women who has credibly accused Bill Clinton of sexual assault, has responded, and she said that what President Trump said is bothersome and that she's really worried and anxious about it. But I think his sudden defense of Bill Clinton actually makes sense in the grand scheme of things, even if you don't agree with it. Like, I obviously have a few qualms with it, but when you take a look at the overall picture, it appears to be part of President Trump's larger communication strategy, which we'll get into later in this video. Obviously, the reason this is so interesting is because both Republicans and Democrats have sort of switched sides on this. So President Trump right here is defending Bill Clinton. Meanwhile, the Democrats are out against the Clinton. Don't forget, it was just a few weeks ago when Democrats crossed the aisle to vote with Republicans and voted to force Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton to testify in front of the House. Of course, the Clintons didn't want to do this. They attempted to back out, but now they've agreed to testify because they don't want to be held in contempt of Congress. So they'll be coming in at the end of the month. But Nancy Pelosi is out there criticizing the Democrats. Exclusive from CNN. Pelosi privately blasts Democrats for vote to hold Clintons in contempt in Epstein probe. It's not just that. Politico is also saying that there is no comeback kid. Democrats are not protecting the Clintons from the Epstein scrutiny, and that this is actually part of the Democrat strategy. So first of all, there are a whole bunch of new, younger Democrats. You have the under 40s. Many of the members of the squad, for example, they don't have the same allegiance to the Clintons that, say, someone like Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer has. It's just a different generation. But according to NBC, the Democrats are actually using the Clintons in order to bait President Trump. According to Representative Maxwell Frost, a Democrat from Florida, he said Democrats will 100% take advantage of the precedent set by Republicans. It does set a precedent, and we will follow it. Donald Trump, all of his kids, everybody. What he's referring to is he wants to subpoena President Trump in reference to the Epstein Files, bring Trump in, prosecute him. And of course, that threat falls flat with me because we all know the lawfare that has gone on against President Trump since 2020. We all know about the Russia hoax. We all know about the endless lawsuits, the prosecutions, the attempt to put him in jail. Heck, they put Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro in jail. So for Democrats to claim that this is some sort of new strategy, no, they're just trying to come up with a reason to prosecute Trump after this term. And hey, if the Epstein Files are going to serve their needs, that's what they're going to cling on to. Meanwhile, President Trump is so ready to move on from the Epstein Files. He said this recently during a presser.
And you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really. Now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about.
As you can imagine, that statement caused controversy on both sides of the aisle. You have Democrats who believe President Trump wants to move on from the Epstein Files because he wants to distract from his guilt. They think that somehow he's implicated, and it hasn't come out over all these years. And, he just wants to distract the country because he doesn't want people to find out that he's guilty of some nefarious thing. But on the right side of the aisle, you have people like Juanita Broaddrick who are genuinely upset because they want justice for the victims. They want people, obviously Epstein is no longer alive, but people like his associates to be held responsible. And so it really is this fine balancing act that President Trump is having to walk this tightrope on, and I think it makes sense. And I think there's actually a clue there as to why this narrative shift is happening. And I think it actually has a lot to do with social media. Whenever there's a huge story, whether it's the Epstein Files or what's happening in Minneapolis, everyone gets their own curated feed. Democrats see one thing, conservatives see one thing, and so there's never any consensus as to what the actual facts are. Thankfully, there's a solution for this: Ground News. They're a website and app on a mission to give readers an easy, data-driven, objective way to read the news. Every day, they pull in thousands of articles from around the world and organize them based on story. And each story comes with a visual breakdown on things like political bias, reliability, and ownership. Let me show you how it works. Here's a story about an ICE attorney saying, "This job sucks." Right away, you can see that 20 news outlets reported on it. Below that, you can see that most of these outlets lean left. And further down the page, you can see who owns these outlets and how reliable their reporting is. But my favorite thing to do is compare headlines to see how these biases affect the framing. On the left, you have the outlets blaming Trump and calling him incompetent, while on the right, they're saying it's because of a lack of resources. It's neat because it helps you understand how both sides can look at the same story, yet come to wildly different conclusions. I especially like their blind spot feed, which highlights stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. Like this story about anti-ICE activists putting up checkpoints in Minneapolis. No one on the left has covered this at all. Ground News is one of the first places I check when I'm looking for a story to make a video. I love that I get to track the news as well as media bias at the same time. And best of all, I'm giving my viewers 40% off their Vantage plan, which is what I use, and includes access to all of their incredible features. This discount is only available through my link, so go to ground.news/SOD, use the QR code here on screen, or click the link in the description to get started for under $5 a month and support an independent news platform working to make the media landscape more transparent. All of that to say, I believe President Trump wants to move on from the Epstein Files, not because he has something to hide, but as part of his messaging strategy. The reality is that the Republicans are in a very tough spot heading into the midterms. Obviously, in any midterm cycle, the party in power is always at a disadvantage. That is just historically true, and that is especially true when you take a look at all of the recent special elections. Not just the special elections that happened late last year, but even what happened this past weekend in Texas. You had a Trump district. I mean, a district that voted for him by, I believe it was 14 points, and it swung 31 points for the Democrats. It's the first time in about 40 years that that district has elected a Democrat. It's just a terrible environment for the Republicans. So I believe what President Trump wants to do, and again, you saw it in that clip, is he wants to start focusing on what he's accomplished and what he wants to do with his last 2 years in office. He has so much to talk about, whether it's slowing down inflation, lowering inflation, securing the border, what he's doing with immigration, the trade deals he's been able to accomplish, strengthening our military. There is accomplishment after accomplishment after accomplishment. And he knows that as long as this Epstein Files scandal drags out, it'll be very difficult for the administration to talk about his successes. And look, even if there's nothing in the files, obviously Trump is mentioned in them, but there's nothing credible as far as any illegal wrongdoing, right? It's just, Epstein was connected to powerful people, and just because you're named, it doesn't mean that you went to the island. It doesn't mean that you interacted with minors. For example, fun fact, did you know that the members of The View, almost all of them, Whoopi Goldberg, Anna Navarro, I believe Alyssa Farah, just off the top of my mind, but I do know 3 members of The View were listed in the Epstein Files. Are the Democrats going to want to open an investigation into those women? For some reason, I doubt it. But all of that to say, it's clear that the Democrats are going to use these files to distract not only from Trump's accomplishments, but from what he wants to do. So I think that's why he wants to move on. Now, the reason that that is a fraught strategy is because it's not just Democrats who are upset about that. While not every Republican cares about the Epstein Files, there is a large portion of the base that does want justice for its victims. Juanita Broaddrick is probably the best example, but you also have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I get that MAGA no longer likes Marjorie Taylor Greene, but if you look at her voting record, I mean, she is still a staunch Republican. I believe the Heritage Foundation does a score on how each House member votes, and her votes have been really, really good. And whenever it mattered, you can dislike what she said about Trump, but the reality is when he needed her vote, she voted for him. And so I do believe that there is a large portion of the Republican base that's going to be upset and say, hey, why can't we get more justice, more transparency here. Isn't that what the Department of Justice is supposed to do? And hey, guess what? When you have a federal government whose budget is trillions and trillions of dollars, are you not able to walk and chew gum at the same time? And so I think that is also a fair argument to say, hey, you can pursue the Epstein Files, you can pursue justice, and you can also pursue your policy agenda. I don't think it's an either-or situation, but that appears to be the tactic that the administration is currently taking. Well, as long as the Clintons are coming in at the end of the month, the Epstein scandal is going to be in the news. And Bill Clinton was asked something, and he had an interesting response. This is from a New York Post reporter.
Any comments on the alleged allegations of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein?
First of all, that smile, the timing of the smile, very creepy. Second of all, I don't think saying the evidence is clear is your best defense, especially when half the country believes, I mean, come on, Bill. Come on. You can't be that dense and that dumb. But clearly the Clintons are in panic mode right now, according to the Hillary Clinton presses Comer for public hearing instead of Epstein investigation deposition. Come on. The Clintons have changed course on this so many times. So they agreed to come in and then they said, no, we're not going to. And they had these demands. Oh, it's going to be Bill going to Comer and you're only going to have one person each with you. And there's going to be people taking notes, no transcription. This is going to be behind closed doors. To, okay, yeah, we'll testify. Oh, no, now we want this on live TV. They can't make up their minds and they are swinging back and forth like an out of control pendulum between these two extremes. Can you just make up your mind, Hillary Clinton? It just makes absolutely no sense. Now, no matter what comes out of the Clinton testimony, we can't forget that it's far beyond them. There are so many people who were associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and that includes Bill Gates. In fact, Melinda Gates came out and she spoke recently about an STD that Bill Gates got from a Russian hooker provided by Epstein. You can't make this stuff up. But before we get to that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are Rhodes, Villabo, Super Romer ×2, Bama Riddenauer, Liz Carla, Kathleen Ide, and the Herrings 3. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you're here. Now, pay close attention to what Melinda Gates says here. She is Bill Gates' ex-wife, and she doesn't deny the question. She doesn't deny the premise. Instead, you can tell she's getting good legal advice here. Let's just say that.
The emails in the files suggest that Bill Gates had additional affairs and that he tried to get medication to treat a sexually transmitted infection and that he was going to give you the medicine without you knowing. His representative has said all of this is false. It is not on you to have to respond to the details of that alleged behavior, but I wonder what your dominant emotion is when you read these news articles with these details.
Sad. Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. That's the truth, right? And it's kind of like, at least for me, I've been able to move on in life.
There is a lot there. She did not deny the STD. And again, the STD came from a Russian prostitute. She mentioned young girls. She mentioned having to leave the marriage. Very interesting. And I think we can all read in between the lines there. But the only reason I share that clip is to say, it's not just about Bill and Hillary Clinton. And even if Bill did nothing wrong, there is still the question of, did you guys know anything? Do you know anything? Can you provide, evidence or any sort of direction to anyone who needs to be held accountable? That's what this is about at the end of the day, for me. It's not about a political witch hunt. It's there are people who've been victimized. We do know this was highly organized, highly orchestrated, a lot of money behind it. And with all the technology, with all the resources, you're telling me that we can't connect the dots at all, and now that Epstein's dead, that's it? The only person going to be held accountable for his actions is going to be Ghislaine Maxwell? You're saying we can't find any of his clients? To me, that just doesn't sit well, and I think for a lot of people, it doesn't as well. As always, though, this is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So, President Trump defending Bill Clinton, saying he's upset that Bill is going to come in, that the Republicans are going after him. What do you think is behind that? Do you think that Trump is trying to cover up something? Do you think Trump is worried that the Democrats are going to use this to enact revenge on him? I get that they've already brought Trump in and tried to destroy him, but obviously Trump ran for president a third time. He won. And so all of those investigations went away. So Trump doesn't have that protection again, right? He can't run for another term, and there's no guarantee it's going to be J.D. Vance or someone like Donald Trump Jr. So what exactly is the play here? Do you agree with me that he's trying to say, hey, let's move on from this because I want to talk about my successes and what I want to accomplish in the next 2 years? Yeah, so I think there's a lot of conversation that can be had around this, and I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.